to a one-off special edition of Carpool. Now, I recorded this show you're going to see late last year, so it's very slow in coming, and I didn't want to release it until I really knew what was going to be happening with Carpool. I am going to be shooting, I've already started shooting a new series of Carpool that will be released later this year. Each week it will feature a different passenger in the passenger seat and a different car. Now, it's very much like the old Carpool. It's not about the car, it's about the passenger. But each week I'll be in a different hybrid or pure electric or plug-in hybrid car with a different passenger. I've recorded one so far with Stephen Mangan. It's wonderful. He was absolutely charming and generous and funny and clever, handsome, young, with a full head of hair. I think I hate him. Anyway, that'll be coming on later. There's lots of other people lined up to do. Very excited about it. But this is a show I recorded last year with a very old friend of mine who, for some reason, I'd never ever got on Carpool. Shocking. So finally I managed to get him. I drove him to work, and what you're about to see is the result. So please welcome into the passenger seat the fabulously talented, very brave, incredibly insightful and original comic, Mr. Mark Thomas.
John Cooper Clarke booked the London Palladium and did Sunday night at the London Palladium with John Cooper Clarke. Right, so it's really lovely, this gig.
And that was the gig was
sold
called,
out Sunday night at London Palladium.
Wow.
John Cooper Clarke. John Cooper Clarke, I saw him when I was 50.
Yeah.
John Cooper Clarke was just amazing, just utterly stunning.
Because he's had a period of quietness, has he not?
Heroin addiction is what you're referring to.
But he has, so it has.
And he's very open about it. He's great about it. An hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I watched it from the side of the stage, and it was just absolutely mesmeric. And you know, he's saying he's talking about his heroin. He said, "I'm getting on a bit. I'm not saying I'm going to die soon, but let's put it this way: I don't buy green bananas." You know, it's great. He's got this really lovely, and he's so funny. He said, "I want to string it out for as long as possible." He said, "So Terry Pratchett says that he doesn't want to go drooling like a vegetable. As it happens, that's how I do want to go." And he's really funny because he's like the missing link in sort of between stand-up and or the current circuit and musical.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? He's
yeah.
like the missing link there, and because he basically tells gags in between the songs, except his songs are poems.
Yeah.
And he does this great poem called "I Don't Go Back Home Much," because every time I do, they shout, "Hey, Clark, you fat bastard! You're much funnier on drugs."
Because he is a walking stick. His legs. When I saw him, I just thought, those legs, how can they support a human body of any size?
Oh, but he's so sartorially, he's amazing.
Oh, he's sharp.
And he's eloquent and funny. He's just a great bloke. I've met him a couple of times, and he's just like, it's just, you know, it's one of those people you just think it's a pleasure just to be in the room with you.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasure to be here. Strangely, when you're doing stuff by yourself, you become strangely, well, it doesn't become strange, it's not strange, you become quite isolated for it because you don't see other people as much. And that can be quite a weird experience. I went and did a late night gig the other night up in Edinburgh, my first late night club gig for years.
Really?
And
you're very brave.
Oh mate,
I have done it in my life.
I saw you doing a late night late and live
did you?
years and years ago. You were great. You were talking about cycling. You appeared in Lycra.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I used to do my Lycra. Oh, I don't know if I want to talk about my Lycra days. The cruelest cloth.
Lycra, the cruelest cloth.
I don't think I'd go out in public in Lycra now.
No, it is. You're absolutely right. It is. Lycra is the Old Testament of garments. It is unforgiving. No, but those late night gigs are hard gigs, you know, because you're talking mainly to alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and it's. But you know, they're good for the soul in a kind of.
But if you survive them, you do feel like, you know, it's like one of those. If you run up a mountain or something, it's one of those.
Absolutely.
You've done it.
I went and did a benefit gig at the Comedy Store recently, and it was for the Belarus Free Theatre. And they're amazing. Do you know about them? They're fucking brilliant.
But tell me about the benefit gig first.
No. You have to know about the Belarus Free Theatre because the Belarus Free Theatre are just Belarus is the last dictatorship in Europe.
Right. Yeah.
And so they fled Belarus when they were doing a play, and they did a play about suicide, and they weren't being booked at the theatres. And normally they're very successful.
Right.
And they said, why aren't you booking us? And they said, oh, there's no such thing as suicide in Belarus. Everyone is happy. Right? So they started to perform their plays underground. You had to phone up.
Wow.
You had to leave a message with the manager. They would phone you. They'd tell you where to meet. They weren't allowed in any theatres. They perform in warehouses or in woods.
Wow.
One of their supporters has had 2 rooms knocked through so they can perform in the living room.
Wow.
But so the thing was, I did a benefit for them. I really liked them and I got on very well with them. And we did a benefit for them down in the Comedy Store and we sold it out. It was brilliant because all the actors come down, they suddenly see this gig that's packed for them.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we had Omar Jalili and me, Izzy Sooty, Phil Jupiter's really nice bill, do you know?
Right, yeah.
Lovely young comic called Imran Yusuf, who's great, really interesting.
But I mean, what's confusing for me is I think of you as performing all the time, doing your shows.
Yeah.
But you obviously think of that as different to doing gigs. So you're talking 30-minute stand-up gig on a bill.
20 minutes, yeah, 20 minutes is stand-up. 20 minutes is stand-up.
And a lot of people would think, well, surely that's easier than doing whatever you're doing tonight. I mean, you're doing a longer show tonight.
It's going to be about an hour and 40.
Right, exactly. Because that sounds like a real... That sounds like much more.
No. You just once it's like gaining momentum downhill. Do you know what I mean? Once you get going, it's kind of.
It carries you with it. Yeah, no, I do get that. Yeah. I mean, I'd certainly be much more scared if I was doing 20 minutes on a bill and I was following Phil Jupiter's than I would be doing an hour and a half talking about all my gubbins that I do.
Yeah, you've seen him recently, have you?
Phil, yeah, actually I did. I saw him in Edinburgh, bizarrely, very briefly, yeah.
No, he's great as Phil. He's amazing.
He's
amazing.
Quite a ball of energy, isn't he? I don't mean to say ball to describe him in a spherical way.
No, you can be.
There are
people. There's very interesting because people like actually it's him and Omar Jalili and Alexi Sale are the 2 people, and Phil sort of almost is, who have got that incredible awareness of their body.
Yeah,
and throwing around
and inhabit it fully.
And it's just remarkable because the energy that in them, they can switch it on and off.
Yeah.
At will. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I love watching them perform just for the physicality of it.
Yeah.
We're doing this demo soon, next week, it's next week or week after, as part of my show, which I have to do 100 acts of mine at this
that's right, yeah.
Right. And one of the demos I'm organising a demo outside the Daily Express building, and it's to publicise 2 facts. One of the facts is that there are 4 million non-British workers in this country working and paying tax and national insurance.
Right.
That's 13% of the British workforce. And the newspaper, the Express newspaper, is owned offshore.
Right. Yes.
Right, they pay no to low tax. So the paper that slags off migrants and benefits scroungers for sponging off the rest of us doesn't actually contribute an enormous amount, or a fair amount at least.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a demonstration demanding the Daily Express stop sponging off of migrants.
Yes.
Which is going to be a nice old gig. And I was looking through, there's a website you can go to called Express Bingo, and I'd recommend people look at it, because you can see what headlines come up day after day after day. August, Princess Diana, every other day she was front page.
That's right, because she'd been murdered by the SAS.
Yeah. I was thinking, just for a laugh, it might be fun just to hire a Princess Diana lookalike and just send her into the Express offices going, "It's all right, boys.
It's a mistake.
It's all been a hoot. I am so sorry." That would be the year, the whole year, their front page. Diana in Express office.
Because that stuff, I just want to, because this is watched by people all over the fucking world, which is quite intriguing in itself. But that, you know, the things that I really remember you for with a mixture of abject terror and massive admiration was like when you did that, because that's on at the moment, the Arms Fair.
Yeah.
You hear about the 2 companies that got kicked out?
Yes, I did.
Just
for having...
for selling weapons.
More specifically, torture equipment.
Torture equipment.
And
I love the fact that you can draw like, this is a machine that kills people.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's torturing people.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
And you're absolutely right. But the remarkable thing is actually, a few years ago, I did exactly the same thing at exactly the same arm fair and got 4 companies kicked out for
Right.
having torture equipment there after they said they'd cleaned up their act.
Right.
And you say to them, you know, time and time again, you're not checking, you're not looking. I got entrance into the arms fair. And
how did you do that as a journalist? How did you get that?
Well, I was
that
writing a book
pass?
about.
Right.
I was writing a book about it. I just applied and they gave me permission and then I went there and all hell broke loose.
Right.
I wasn't in, then I was in, then I wasn't in. Eventually I'm allowed in.
Right.
And they put this chap on me as my minder.
And would he have been ex-military? did you
Yeah,
say?
absolutely,
Right.
ex-military.
Yeah.
Now it was just ex-military in the TA now.
Right.
Just got promotion and now doing troubleshooting for PR. And of course he was just great because we were wandering around the arms fair and this obviously one of his colleagues called it, "Hello Tim," or whatever his name was. "Oh there, oh yeah, what's up with you? I thought you were doing troubleshooting." I go, "Yeah, that's right, here's the trouble."
And this wasn't on camera or on TV. This was
No,
this was
this
just
was
you.
just me going around, and I've got recordings of it,
Right.
Because you take audios with you.
Yeah.
He was remarkable. And sometimes I'd take photographs and what have you,
Right.
and take footage within the arms fair as well.
Right.
And at one point, I mean, he was just amazing because he didn't really have much of a clue.
Right.
Joe, lovely bloke, charming man, but just would sort of like, I'd go, "Listen, I want to go and talk to the Pakistani pavilion. It'd be great if we could get over there and have a look at it." The Pakistan very, very sort of like worried about people, journalists and all that.
Right.
Because this happens every now and again. I went to their embassy a few years ago, pretending to be an arms dealer, and I booked in. It's very easy to do it.
I mean, even you telling me, but you say it's very easy to do, but I'm.
But you know what I mean? I'm
just
suddenly
sitting there.
aware that I should just write a joke.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I should just write a joke. But the thing, you can, all you need to be an arms dealer is you just get a hooky address and hooky email, a couple of dodgy mobiles, and you're off.
Right.
Right, and you can do it. And you can sell, you can have a website if you like, but
Right.
you know, it's quite good to get a website. But you know, you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? We went to meet the defence attaché and they handed out some.
But they're not selling arms there, presumably.
Oh, yes, they are. Well, I'd argue that most embassies have, they have a defence attaché, and the defence attaché has a sales role. And the defence attaché in the Pakistani embassy gave us some leaflets, some little booklets about what they're offering, including landmines. So we were offered landmines in the embassy.
Wow.
And they're remarkable. They're absolutely remarkable to get offered landmines
Yeah.
in a London embassy.
Yes.
Which is kind of quite odd.
Yeah.
But also they do these fixed mines where they're like on a tripod, and it's the mine is sort of like a briefcase, and it's triggered up by all sorts of stuff. But what's very funny is they have very clearly printed on front, "This way front." Right, so don't get in front.
Don't get
It's
in
gonna
front
go
of
that way.
Yeah. Go around the other side.
Yeah. But so the Pakistani people were quite worried about being filmed, but because I was with this bloke who was just like, "Come on in, I'll show you, don't worry, have a film on it, it's all right, he's a journalist, gonna film the lot." And so I just filmed it, and then I'm like, and then, "No, it's fine, it's because with me."
Oh, God.
So you meet these kind of weird characters, and you have some ambivalence towards them because actually there's bits of them that you like.
Yeah,
you know
of
what I
course.
mean?
Yeah.
But so you know, human life is wonderfully complex. So
Yeah.
you like people who are doing jobs which aren't very nice. And I wandered around this arms fair with him, and we found when I was there, I found these companies. I'd done a bit of homework, so I knew roughly where to look. And it's quite easy to spot, you know, if you're making a big hoo-ha about this is all legitimate arms sales and it's responsible arms sales, it's not torture equipment. And the torture equipment, because at one stage, you know, the electroshock weapon was called the torturer's weapon of choice by Amnesty.
Right.
You know, and it was pretty horrific what was going on.
Yeah.
And so what they would do, these companies that were selling torture equipment, you know, I was being offered an electroshock spray by this Israeli company who got a prototype. And what you do is you spray a whole crowd of people with this gel. You just spray this stuff on them, and then you hit them with one charge, and the charge will do the
It
lot.
goes all the way through it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you can just electroshock a whole group of people
Right.
in one go.
Yeah.
I reported them to Her Majesty's Customs and Revenue, who are in charge of imports and exports and licences and all
Right.
that. Nothing happened.
Right.
So I then put it in the Guardian, and all hell broke loose, and 4 companies got kicked out.
Wow.
What's remarkable, of course, is years later you see the same faces turning
They'll
up,
turn up
doing
again.
the same
Yeah.
shit again and
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
You know, look at it from a very, very simplistic viewpoint, which is if you're going to send your countrymen and women across the world into combat
dangerous
zones,
places, yeah.
then you want them to
Yeah.
be protected, and that's a really,
Yeah.
you know, that's a normal thing to want. What's interesting, of course, is when it becomes less clear cut, when it becomes political, when it becomes,
Yeah.
you know, when you end up with a whole range of stuff happening when you see people in situations they shouldn't be,
Yeah.
or when you see troops doing things they shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
or when they are actually, you know, the whole Iraq and Afghanistan was just one screaming two screaming bloody messes,
Yeah.
you know.
But you're doing a show there tonight. But what
Yeah.
I don't know, what is it? Is it because what the last 2 I saw was the one about your dad,
Yeah.
the opera, which is extraordinary, and the walking in the Israel Palestinian
yeah.
the barrier. So you're not doing either of them.
No.
Right.
Well, the funny thing is, over the past, I suppose it's kind of weird. I don't think I've really done stand-up for a while anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because it's one show I did was about. Well, actually, the arms deal. There's a whole show about the arms industry,
Right, yeah.
and which is about how you, which was really about sort of finding out things and about trying to expose
Yeah,
things and trying
yeah.
to tell things. And I ended up giving evidence at the House of Commons Select Committee on arms.
Wow.
And it was very funny. I got given the House of Commons report comes out because you submit written evidence and then you give oral evidence.
Right.
It's just a very bizarre process.
Yeah.
Because the House of Commons then published their report, and I was commended in the House of Commons report. And I wrote to the chairman of the committee saying, if you commend me again, I'll sue.
I don't want to be commended.
Yeah.
You'll ruin
Yeah,
my street rep.
Basically, what I became obsessed with was how do I do things that are real and then document them in an artificial way, which
Yeah.
is on stage.
Yeah.
How do you mix that reality with artifice?
Yeah.
How do you get, you know, because when I did the demonstration show, what had happened was the government had introduced a law that you have to get notification to the police 6 days before a demonstration, but a demonstration could be one person with a banner or
Right.
one person with a badge.
Yeah.
And so I just started to apply for protests all the time.
Right.
And
Can you remember the name of the officer that you kept ringing? Because I did love that. I remember
PC Paul McAnally. He's now sergeant.
that. Is he?
We still keep in touch.
Oh, okay. No, cool, man. You know, because I loved the way you portrayed him, because it wasn't like that, which is exactly what we were saying. It's not that cut and dry thing. He's a police officer doing a job, you know. And then you'd ring him again. And he'd go,
There was an element of him just going, oh. and what was interesting was there was quite a few cops who didn't particularly like this law. They didn't like the fact that it made them look stupid and overly
but it made them look political in their motives.
It ended up with doing these things called mass loan demonstrations, where if one person needs permission to demonstrate or to give notification, then we thought, what happens if loads of people demonstrate at the same time on different issues?
Right.
Legally, they have to get notification.
Yeah,
so we'd have hundreds of people queuing up outside the police station of an evening to hand in their notification and to all of that. And the police have to approve and then send you notification back and all of this.
And who brought that law in?
The Labour government.
The Labour
It
government.
was David Blunkett,
Yes.
who was the Home Secretary.
Yeah, but what was it in response to? I mean, what was
It was
their...
in response to a guy called Brian Hoare, who was a peace protester, who had a tent outside
for a long time.
Parliament, and they were just going nuts at him because he used to get on his megaphone and call them war criminals.
Right.
And to be honest, you know, you just think, well, come on,
had a point.
you're MPs.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Even if he hasn't got a point, you should be able to.
Yeah.
Like you should. If you can't handle this, why are you an MP?
Why are you an MP?
You start engaging with the police, You start telling the story of your engagement,
Yeah.
examining the law, start pushing it as far as you can. Then the publicity of the show and the publicity of pushing it starts to gain momentum.
Yeah.
Where did you take it? I ended up becoming Guinness World Book of Records record holder for the most political demonstrations in
Right.
a day, in 24 hours.
Right.
I've somewhere upstairs in my room. I've got this Guinness World certificate, and
the most political demonstrations in one day.
yeah, because
By one person.
yeah, and it has changed quite substantially. Though there's bits of it still intact, but it has changed quite substantially, which is, I think that's quite nice to be part of that movement.
Yeah.
To be culturally part of that movement of change.
Yes.
And that's I love that thing. I love that people say, no, we can't change anything with comedy. And actually, we can be part of change.
Well,
that's
I mean,
the whole
you've
point of it.
absolutely proven that wrong. I mean, generally speaking, gags about, my kitchen sink got blocked, man, all that stuff. Yes, probably not a massive amount of cultural and political change as a result of that. But, there's certainly that, and it's slow, isn't it? That attitudinal change, even if you think in the time we've been knocking about doing.
Well, if you think of when we started, there's a thing called Section 28,
Yeah.
which the Tory government brought in, which made it illegal to promote
Which is what they've done in Russia,
homosexuality,
yeah.
which is exactly what they're doing in Russia.
Yeah, yeah.
And what that does is gay, lesbians, bisexuals, transsexuals are subhuman according to the law.
Yeah.
They are not equal according to the law.
No.
And what that means is it allows the state to sponsor an area of violence, so the state
Yeah.
can give legitimacy to attacks and homophobic and people.
Which is exactly what's happening in Russia and what happened here. Yeah.
And to think that we've gone from those very, very, very dark days
Yeah.
to the days now where actually we do have equal marriage.
We had a gay marriage in the village the other week, which is fantastic.
That's brilliant. And
Yeah.
could you think of that happening?
God, it wouldn't be possible to imagine, wouldn't it? A legally sanctioned, recognised marriage
20 years
between
ago.
two men.
20
not
years
married.
ago, I think that would have been, no, that won't happen
Yeah.
in my lifetime.
No.
And actually, that's a really nice thing.
Yeah.
It's not, sexuality isn't something where you just go,
Yeah,
they had
that
pom
was-
sex on special offer,
Yeah.
I thought I'd give it a try. Do you know, it isn't like that, it doesn't work like that.
No.
The thing about the shows, I think, is that you try and do things which are interesting and engage people and
Yeah.
get people that there should be a dimension to it outside the theatre. It doesn't just exist in the theatre.
But what I think what the most interesting experience I had watching you, because I've seen you do many different performances,
Because I've known you for a long
I
time.
don't even want to remember. It's quite a long time. Let's not even remember.
I knew you before I started going out with my wife.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I knew you before.
Because I don't remember meeting you before.
No, I knew you because I'd met. I forget when I met you,
Oh, we would have met at a gig or something.
but we had met at gigs, and I knew you before because I remember queuing up to see the Joeys when I was a student
No, really?
at Edinburgh, and
Wow.
we sold out, and we
Huh?
couldn't get tickets, and
Wow.
we were really disappointed. We were,
Wow.
and so I saw you as a performer
Right.
before I actually started
Right.
working on circuit.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
well,
yeah.
thanks, because that makes me feel even older.
It was a compliment, mate. It was a compliment. It
Okay,
was saying, I used to go and watch you perform before I was a performer because we used to like what you did
Oh,
and we
thank
admired
you.
what you're doing.
Oh.
But you've managed to turn it and sort of go, thanks, that's an ageist insult.
No, I'm
Fucking hell, Robert.
I know. I've got issues. I'm working on them. But
You had issues back then, mate, to be honest.
yeah, I did. Oh, I had like stacks, like normal people have boxes of shoes. I had boxes of issues. But no, the thing is, it was Chipping Norton, the Chipping Norton Theatre. Do you remember when you did
Yeah.
the Israel, the show
Yeah,
about
I
Israel?
do remember that. Yeah.
And I was sitting with my neighbours. They all wanted to come, and I was going, I'm not going to say anything. They're coming to see Mark.
Yeah.
They're not. They're anything but bigots or ignorant. They're really charming people, but you would put them in the broad political spectrum to the sort of comfortably small C conservative.
Yeah.
There's a bit too much immigration.
Yes.
All those things would be, not outrageous, angry UKIP, but sort of slightly leaning that
Yeah.
way. So then I think, they're coming to see Mark.
UKIP having done a relaxation exercise. I think it'll be...
That's what it is.
UKIP...
They've been on
Yeah.
a yoga weekend.
Yes, UKIP's yoga course, the yoga section. Yes.
But so they were on their feet at the end of that way before I was. I was clapping, and when you finished, They were
right,
all
so
on their
you
feet.
weren't on your feet?
No, I thought, fuck,
Oh,
it's
right.
not that good.
See, that's how easy it is to do that, Robert. That's how easy it is to do it.
I was on my feet. I was on my feet, but they beat me. That was the thing.
The thing that we were talking about was was about words, like the go from Rick Santorum.
Yeah.
That Rick Santorum was the American senator who was very homophobic, and so they ran a competition. A gay writer ran a competition to come up with a definition of Santorum.
Right.
And the definition was a Santorum, or Santorum rather,
Right.
is the mix of fecal matter and lube left after vigorous anal sex.
Lovely.
And so now if you search for it in the internet, Santorum comes up.
Right.
And Rick Santorum actually tried to get the word removed from the internet, and I like the idea. It's quite typical of homophobes that they just try and airbrush things
Yeah.
out. Because it's not the way I like
But
it.
it's also the fact that he would have to explain what
Yeah.
he wanted removed.
I want Santorum removed. And your name is Santorum.
Santorum.
Your one was
Was quite a chipped molar from grinding your teeth in desolate fury. Would be a delling pole.
A delling pole. Well, the good news is your teeth are very good, and the gums really are in excellent condition for it. But you do have 2 delling poles.
So when your dentist tells that,
Yeah.
you know you need to
Yeah.
do some anger management.
Seriously, and what we recommend is there are gum shields for your delling poles that you can use.
It's called the delling pole shield. And it will help you.
Do you know the weirdest one, or one of the favourite ones? I don't know if it's favourite again. I work with Mr. Methane. Do you remember Mr. Methane?
Oh yeah.
Who basically does.
Farting.
Yeah, he
stuff,
does farts.
Yeah.
And he fires darts from his bottom.
Mr. Smith.
And I was in Montreal for the comedy festival, and they got me sharing a dressing room with Mr. Methane. I said, oh, for God's sake.
Enjoy yourself.
And I remember talking to him, and I said, not being funny, do your children know what you do for a living? He said, oh, they're a bit too young. He said, but this is really a young man's game. He said, you get to 35, it's time to hang up your pants.
Oh, so is it this place up here? Oh. God,
It's quite sweet.
Yeah.
And look at that, 2 minutes past 6.
Well, I told you 6.
Yeah,
with 2
given
minutes
that we
late.
fanned about in the car
Exactly,
for a
yeah.
while, that was very good.
Oh, look at that. And there's a parking space right outside. You cannot say better than that.
You can't.
Oh, brilliant,
Oh,
mate.
really
Thank
lovely
you.
to see
No,
you,
it's
darling.
very, very good. It's very nice that we managed to do that.
That was great.
We
Am
got
I
her in
allowed
the
to
end.
call you darling on time?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
No, we're all darlings, darling.
Charm, this is now a great bit, because now I've got to 50.
Here's your man.
Oh, there we are. I was just going, now I've got to 50. I don't give a fuck anymore.
No, you can't worry about
I
things like
just
that.
can't give a fuck. Fucking young people.